if we're trying to do something, we want to get somewhere, if we don't have a plan that we're going to follow to get to that thing, then a lot of times we don't even get there because accountability falls away. So sometimes you lose the accountability portion of it because there was no plan to be accountable for, right? That's one piece of it. But the second thing is that having the plan actually helps you map out sort of the order in which you do things. And that's important because if we do things out of order, we go too fast, or we go, or you switch the flow of how something goes, it actually ends up like hindering what your end of goal is, right? So you have progress here, you have goal over here. And if you know the different points that you're supposed to hit along the way, you can follow the straight line and get to a goal over here. But if they're not defined, then you know the goal's over here somewhere, but you don't really know where you're going, right? So you take longer. The other reason is if you do things like out of order, or you try to jump into stuff too quick because you're really excited about doing it, or you feel like there's some sort of timeline or whatever's going on, then you have this goal over here. And let's say like this was a step that you needed to do, but you skipped over to here before you did it. Well, if this step was needed in order to do this step properly, and because you didn't have this, then you can't actually do this, then what happens is you end up like circling back over here in order to do that and then moving forward again. So you lose time in some cases, sometimes you lose money in some cases, where we're so like eager and wanting to get to our end goal so quickly. And I totally get that. That happens with a lot of things. It's not just health, it's business stuff, it's health stuff, it's personal stuff, it's family stuff, like whatever it is. You kind of have this thing you want to get to. And something that I've learned, and I've just kind of noticed for myself and things that I've seen for other people, and then ultimately like bleeding into clients and how they work, and how we've worked with them, is defining like the steps leading up to the end goal ends up being so important to help streamline all of that. And it actually is like less of a headache. It goes quicker. And in some cases, depending on what you're trying to do, you could even save money in the process by not having to like circle back to this piece that you needed and then moving back forward, right? So it's very important to go through the entire house in the inspection piece and not maybe just be like, oh man, the kitchen here is really bad, I'm going to start testing the kitchen, right? Testing isn't there yet, right? We have to go through everything. It's from testing to remediation, where usually I see we're trying to progress too quickly. And there's reasons for that, right? Like everybody starts this journey on whatever their journey is, right? And typically it's not with us and it's not here. Usually it's a couple of years ago, you started feeling sick, you started not feeling right, you started trying to find doctors. That took a while. Once you found doctors, they finally figured out like what was going on, and that took, some time. Then you start going down the mold inspector route and realizing, you've had, an inspection here, a failed remediation there, like whatever it might be, some more time has passed. So finally, when we get here and you guys see, oh, there's like an actual path, there's a structure to this, there's ways to figure this out, we get so excited. And so excited is a weird word for us, but I actually feel like sometimes that is really what's happening. It's like, oh, there's a path, I know what to do, I can get there. And you almost want to like fast track it because you want to get to the end goal so much. But when you're fast tracking between the time where you got test results back and by the time, let's say that you've got like remediation protocols in hand, and you start fast tracking that, what happens is that you can get remediators that come in and maybe they start executing off of your test results. The challenge with that is that a remediator's remediation protocols are not going to be the same as what we talk about here, right? So they're going to come in and they're going to shortcut stuff and do things. Why do they do that? Because their entire business is based off volume. It's literally a math formula. It's lower cost, higher volume, that equals more money, right? And they're running their business, right? So for them to come in, lower cost means we're not going to remove everything that we need to remove. We're not going to clean everything after all remediation has been done properly, because you can't see anything and we covered it all up and now it's on to the next job, because the volume is how they make money and that's how their model runs, right? So if their goal and how they create structure and protocols and process isn't aligned with your goal, because your goal is I want my place treated more like a medical facility because it's a health issue. Their goal is it's a construction job, right? So you have this misalignment of goals and how they approach it. So if you get to this point where you have the testing and then we like fast forward and we try to get the remediator to come in and just say, hey, I have these tests, let's start doing this. The problem is their goals don't align, their protocols aren't going to align. They're going to try to get through things quickly. They're not going to care about post testing. There's just a lot of stuff that goes with that. Whereas if we have the protocols in hand, now before that relationship starts, it's like, hey, here's the expectation of what this remediation is going to be. If you're not going to meet that expectation, then this job isn't for you, right? Now, the frustrating thing is that can add some time, right? Because you got to figure out what protocols look like. We got to then maybe like screen and vet and interview multiple remediators, right? So if you're on this timeline, you've got your testing here, you've got kind of protocol piece here, then remediation happens over here. The problem is it may take a little longer to get here to really do it the right way. But if we do this a little sooner, let's say, and we pop it here, the likelihood of problems are much higher, which means you're then going to have to backtrack to here and like start all over again. And then that's time and expense. It's not just a mold thing. It's not just a house inspection remediation thing. For me, it's kind of a life thing. I do this in every aspect of what I do. I think about where I want to be. I backtrack from there, the things that have to happen in order to get to it. And then I plan out what those steps are. And then I know I'm not overwhelmed because I know what my next step is. And I know that in order to get here, I need to do X, Y, and Z. And it allows me to be more structured. It allows me to be more accountable. It just kind of sets me up for success, I think. And so I think as we're going through this process or whatever else you're doing in life, now that I'm turning into Brian, the life coach, but these types of things have been helpful for me. So it was just something that I wanted to share with you guys today.